but Cam and Tyler did manage to watch Hunger Games: Ballad of Songs and Snakes.
There we go. Close.
All right.
Close one.
Just missed the birds, songbirds and snakes. But you're getting
Songbirds.
closer every time. By the end of this episode, you'll be a master.
Third time lucky, I'll get
Yeah.
it. But yeah, if you want to touch on your initial reviews, go on spoilers. I'll kind of back out this one and let Tyler go first because I know Tyler's a big.
Tyler, do you have the synopsis?
Yeah, I'll read the little quick synopsis. So, this is a prequel movie to the Hunger Games. It's also based on a book, so it's not just like, something they made up. This is another Suzanne Collins book that I don't know if a lot of people noticed that she did release another Hunger Games book, but this is based on the book.
Did she?
Yeah, there's a book. Yeah.
Oh no, I thought you meant like another one on top of this.
No. This is this is a book.
I knew that.
Yeah. So everyone hungers for something. 64 years before he becomes the tyrannical president of Pan Am, Coriolanus Snow sees a chance for a change in fortunes when he mentors Lucy Gray Baird, who's played by Rachel Zegler, the female tribute from District 12, which of course is the same district as Katniss, which happens. So this is Hunger Games 10, and then Katniss is 74, so 64 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So quite the prequel. And one thing that's interesting to me, like just quickly before we get into it, is I went to like the premiere screening or whatever. They had like
wait a sec. Sorry. I'm so sorry. 64 years prior, Snow is like 18 in this. Or how old would you think I think he's like 18.
Yeah, because I think he's like, I'd say 17 or 18 because they're trying to get like a college scholarship.
So then he's like 80 in the Hunger Games?
64 plus 18, so yeah, like 80. Yeah.
That's all right. Well, he's not, but that's just sorry.
He's got that Capital Medical Care, He's probably
guess, yeah. You live forever in this universe because he looks good for 80 or 80.
Yeah, he does.
Or whatever it is.
I watched this at like the early like fan screening or whatever, where they had like a bunch of movie theaters across America simulcasting when the premiere happened in LA. So they like live streamed the red carpet or whatever. And the executive producer of all the Hunger Games movies was there, and they basically said, as long as Suzanne Collins keeps writing books, we'll keep making movies. But Suzanne Collins kind of said this is their last Hunger Games book. And I'm like, think they're probably going to go rogue on her. I feel like this movie's going to be, I know it didn't do as good as they were expecting opening weekend, but it's still going to be a moneymaker.
Yeah.
And the fans, like the diehard fans still definitely enjoyed this. So I feel like they're probably going to have to go rogue and make another movie. But like I think I texted you this, like I would be happy to watch a Hunger Games movie of every Hunger Games ever, just like new arenas, new, like it's just like a fun, like the battle royale atmosphere and the whole.
It's nice knowing it's not real, but they were kind of cooking saying that the Hunger Games would be interesting because it is. It's just like it's just Fortnite.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like actually I was thinking that because I was thinking like Fortnite, like obviously there's been battle royales before Hunger Games, but the whole like the Hunger Games in the first one at least like had like the storm closing in. Same with the second one, they kind of like use bombs to make. I'm like, wow, this literally is like. Fortnite, the creator of Fortnite probably did just watch Hunger Games. Was like, you know what? This is going to be generational wealth for my family if I make this a game. But the movie itself, I really liked it. I didn't think it was perfect. Just kind of high level thoughts. I think Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2 really screwed them over here because they're obviously terrified of splitting like a one book thing into multiple movies now after how bad that did critically. And even like some diehard fans didn't love them. But I really think because this is a 3-act movie, like like not just the narrative structure, but like it literally says like, Act 1, can't remember what they're all titled, but it's like Act 1 this, Act 2 this, Act 3 this.
It's like that the mentor, the fight, and then the survival or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But I think the first 2 acts would have made a great movie for this, and I probably would have like gave it like maybe a 4.5. And then Act 3 probably could have been like a whole separate movie because it felt a little rushed and a little out of place. So I feel like if they would have just like let that be its own movie and fleshed it out a lot more, probably could have done a lot better. But again, I think Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2, just like no way in that boardroom of the producers were they ever going to like allow a Part 1, Part 2 movie for this. So I think that kind of hurt them a little bit because they had to pack so much into this. But I really like Tom Blythe in the role of a young Coriolanus Snow. I thought he was super good. Definitely there's the darkest and grittiest Hunger Games movie, which politically and in terms of like what they're actually doing, like it's a bunch of people from different districts killing each other, like kids. So they're already really dark, but like this one just takes it to a whole new level in terms of dark imagery. And a lot of moments where I'm like, sheesh, like this is like a franchise that kids love. And like, there's a lot of moments in this where I'm like, that's intense. But Rachel Zegler, I think, is really good in this. Her accent takes a while to get used to. At least for me, it took me a while to get used to. Her singing is incredible, of course. Her performance, I thought, was really good. I just think Rachel Zegler for me, which is crazy because she's so early in her career, But to me, like, I just see Rachel Zegler. Like, I just can't really see her as like the character, because I feel like she's like transcended that in terms of her popularity. And it's like annoying to have any critiques for Rachel Zegler because so many people online are like the grossest, weirdest people ever when it comes to her. So I'm like, I just don't want to really say anything bad, but it took me a while to get used to her accent as her character, because based on the book, like apparently like that's exactly what the accent she should have, like an Appalachian kind of Southern West or Eastern accent, but coming out of her mouth, like it just doesn't, like it's a shock value. Like, whoa, okay, I guess I gotta get used to this here. But Tom Blythe was the one who stole the show for me. But I thought every supporting character was so good too. Like Viola Davis was great. Peter Dinklage, I was like, man, he was like in his Game of Thrones bag in this. Like he was really delivering a great performance. I was like, man, it's great to see Peter Dinklage going off again. Freaking Jason Schwartzman, man, I love when they just give him a role and they're just like, be a silly dude, and that's all I gave him, just as a lucky Lucretius Flickerman, just an iconic dude, because he's like the I can't remember what's the name of the actor who plays like his grandson or whatever. He's the guy who's like the host of the Hunger Games, like super quirky, but he's like the great grandfather of whoever ends up doing an actual Hunger Games trilogy. Yeah.
Oh, all right. I didn't really get that. I forget who it is, but
isn't it freaking Emily Blunt's sister's husband? What's his name? Stanley Tucci.
Is it Stanley Tucci? No. Oh, he is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking of
looks a lot different.
Thinking of the dude with the weird. It was Wes Bentley. The dude's Crane is who I was thinking of. The weird. You know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I thought everything in this, in terms of I thought the cinematography was the best we've seen in the series, not only from the action sequences, but just every shot of just even like basic communications or stuff. I thought there's a lot of interesting camera work in this. The production design I thought was great as well. The costume design, it definitely went all out once again, which is hard to do kind of because this is really early days of the Capitol. The Capitol isn't super uber wealthy like they used to be. Like they're still only 10 years post rebellion. So they're still kind of rebuilding from that, still trying to regain their wealth and keep the districts in check. So it's still super early days. But the story I thought was super interesting. Basically, it's just the Hunger Games aren't getting as much views as they used to. Just people aren't caring anymore. It was kind of a cool shock value thing the first couple of years. And then now they're just losing interest. So Peter Dinklage, who's like the chancellor of the university or whatever, and kind of one of the co-founder of the Hunger Games, along with Snow's dad, who was president at one time, but he passed away. So they kind of co-founded the Hunger Games, and his idea basically was for this 10th Hunger Games to have the Academy students, which is where Coriolanus Snow went. It was Academy in the Capitol. They were going to become mentors for the people in the Hunger Games, and basically their job was to make them spectacles, make them, get views, get clicks, get people interested, and get invested in the story. So then they'll watch the Hunger Games and be excited again. Let's try and get viewership back up. But yeah, that's kind of it for my initial thoughts. One thing I think is funny is like how they assigned randomly the mentors for the people in the districts. And they're basically like, your job is to get the most views and interest. And then I feel like Coriolanus Snow, when he saw her start singing, he was probably like, oh, thank God. I got so lucky with this. Like giving me the girl who decides to just make the most iconic tribute pledge or whatever. And he's just like, oh, this should be, thank you for giving me this one. But go ahead with your initial thoughts.
Yeah, nothing different from what you said. Cast top to bottom's great. I texted you guys the wild accent, but I got used to it and didn't mind it after a while. Like you said, it just takes a sec. I love Rachel Zegler with my whole heart, honey. I'm sorry. I think I'm in love with her. Rachel Zegler. Okay, yeah, she doesn't care. But I think she's fantastic in this. I do think Tom Blythe steals the show. Viola Davis was probably my favorite supporting actor in this, but it's Viola Davis. She's never been bad in anything ever, and now she's just quirky as hell. I think just don't want to keep hitting the nail on the head, but you're right about the third act, all that jazz. I didn't think it was as bad as most people said. I didn't mind
Me
this
neither.
being
a lot of people really hated it.
Yeah, a lot of people have real issues with it. I didn't have horrible issues with it, but it does feel rushed. My biggest issue with this is, the Hunger Games are boring at this time. And I got the comment when I said that on my review. I understand that's the point, is they're losing interest. And then Snow is the one who kind of gets it back to its glory. After 10 years though, man, you're already losing interest. Fucking Gaul shouldn't have a job anymore. But the idea of being in just a big ass arena with no obstacles or anything, I can understand how that loses interest. And I think, unfortunately, it just didn't make me interested in it at all. So I gave this a 68 out of 100, 3.5 out of 5. I just wasn't too interested in the actual Hunger Games, and that's kind of what I come to the show for. I also don't think they like even attempted to make any of the other tributes like characters. In my opinion, like I can't remember a single name from any of the other tributes. That I feel like in the first Hunger Games and Catching Fire, Catching Fire is so goddamn good. I might watch it again, just like after thinking about it. I think they at least try to like show District 1 and 2 and 3 as like powerhouse districts, and then the rest are obviously like kind of falling off a little bit, but at least like you get to see how powerful they are. And I understand this is like the early days, so they're still rebuilding from where they were when the rebellion happened. But like none of the other districts, in my opinion, were intimidating at all. Like all of them were kind of weak. So that's like my biggest bummer of this movie is I wish I cared about the Hunger Games in this movie a little bit more. I enjoyed that they made like the Hunger Games like the second act. I think that like, that's how you make it a little different than the other ones. You give a little bit more story afterwards, but then like you said, it was a little rushed with that story afterwards. But I enjoyed this movie for the most part. Not too much more to say. Hey, bud. Not too much more to say on it. I mean, we can get into spoilers a little bit if we want. Well, I didn't necessarily care for the Sejanus Pluth character either, really. I think like you needed to care about him to fully invest in this movie. And I've seen people give this movie like a 10 out of 10. It's not there for me, but I enjoyed it for the most part. And a lot of that is just off the backs of the cast. Like you said, Tyler, they do a fantastic job. This also is probably the best looking Hunger Games
definitely
movie. I think it's shot beautifully, and the cinematography is fantastic in this thing. But yeah, we can talk spoilers. I mean, it's a book, so it's not like we're spoiling too much, but you can throw up.
Yeah, we'll throw up the spoilers.
Yeah,
so Seth can remove himself if he wants. Yeah, we'll text you when we're done. We'll text you.
I don't care.
Okay. Yeah, so I give it a 4 out of 5 star. By the way, I didn't mention that. So yeah, the Hunger Games, like Cam said, I didn't care too much about them either. The actual like games themselves. One thing I think for character development of a lot of people in this, like if it doesn't interest you, like that's fine, or in terms of like a movie for enjoyment. But I think a lot of it like narratively can be explained by like you're kind of watching this whole movie through Coriolanus Snow's eyes. So maybe he wouldn't care about the other tributes and a lot of the stuff we kind of don't get super fleshed out is kind of because he probably wouldn't really be interested in that himself. But yeah, so
that's fair.
Hunger Games himself, he gets Lucy, like Rachel Zegler is who his tribute is. He has to mentor, and they come to the Hunger Games. They're really like, they're obviously always dehumanized because in the actual original trilogy, they're always, getting killed like kids, but they're like majorly dehumanized.
They're in a cage in this one. That kind of like shocked me when they get like put in a zoo. I was like, what the fuck?
They put all the tributes in a zoo and have kids like come by and like look at the tributes from District 12 and District whatever, and like that's pretty freaking savage. And
yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, and the jokes they would make at their expense is like savage too. Like freaking Jason Schwartzman's like, and here comes tuberculosis on legs over here. And it's like these guys are
hilarious.
Yeah, and then I mean, shout out to the movie for having representation, but seeing a girl with Down syndrome in the Hunger Games, and you know what's gonna happen. Like only one surviving here, and you're like, oh god, like this is gonna be rough, man. Like she doesn't even have like a fighting chance.
Yeah,
like
they killed her in the most humane way, and I was like,
yeah,
you can't
just
her.
getting swallowed by snakes, yeah. At least, but better than seeing her get axed up or whatever. But that was a cool like kind of like political message in the movie when that one guy, like you said, like that's what sucks with the games, like you can't really remember anyone else's names, but the one guy kind of goes around and gets all the dead bodies and lays them in like
I'm looking at the cast list right
now.
Kind
of laid all the dead bodies in a pile. That was a pretty cool moment. And yeah, I guess where do you want to start with like spoilers here? What are the big like things to touch on that are kind of
Rachel Zegler wins. I was looking up like after this movie, like how many winners each district has, and on record, District 12 has the most winners. So they're the they're the goats. Yeah. Like we're always talking about them like they're trash. Like they're the fucking goats. They got her, Haymitch, and then obviously Katniss and Peeta. Kind of cheating. They get 2 for 1.
That's 2, yeah, true,
2 for 1, but then they win again. So they're kind of goated.
Hunger Games is like the worst deal ever because you go there once and only one survives. But even then, in the quarter quell, like all the winners have to go again.
Yeah,
so,
that's
like,
bullshit. Yeah,
every 100 years, that means only like 4 survivors will live because like everyone who wins is gonna get killed off in the quarter quells. It's like, what? That's a shit deal. Like,
yeah, that's awful. And also, you would think they know about that in like in the Catching Fire. They're like, what? Whoa! But you would think they know about it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess only one person would live to tell the tale from the 50th Hunger Games, so maybe they just kind of silence that person.
Yeah, that's fair.
To tell and be like, no telling people, or they get so spoiled in riches that they don't really care to tell anyone, warn anyone. But so Rachel Zegler is like kind of like a traveling vagabond singer, and that's kind of her deal. So she's not actually from District 12, right? Like that's just where she was on like Reaping Day.
Well, I think, yeah. So what she would have been? So that if say they're 18, they would have been like. No, so she's there normally, right? So like her people used to be travelers. So I think she's been there since like the first Hunger Games. She's been there since the first Hunger Games, right? But like I think they used to be travelers before the uprising or whatever. I think that's what it is.
She's a transplant fan. She's not a homegrown District 12 blue blood fan.
And she also like. The boyfriend was cheating on her girlfriend. She was rigged the whole way.
Oh yeah, because her like the.
I saw a tweet that was like, "These two people are the ultimate like Lucy Gray haters. What did she do to them?" And one of them, it was literally like, "Well, she cheated on, like, with the boyfriend on another girl. That's what she did to them."
Because back in the 10th Hunger Games, the person who did like the Reaping Day was just like the governor of the district or whoever runs the district, as opposed to, as we see in the newer ones, who actually plays that actress? It's like a popular actress.
It's
like
Elizabeth Banks, right?
Yeah, whereas in the original trilogy, the person who does like the Reaping Day is someone from the Capitol. But back in this 10th Hunger Games, it was just like whoever runs the district. So like the daughter of that guy, her boyfriend cheated with Lucy Gray Baird. So basically they just rigged the thing and we're like, yeah, you're going to the Hunger Games. Have fun. But so she goes with the guy. Do you have the cast still up? Do you remember the name of the guy?
Yeah, so she goes with he may not be top billed.
She screams his name like 20 times. And I still can't
it was like Jesper. I think it was Jesper. I can't find him on here, to be quite honest.
Yeah, she got a shit deal there because on like the train ride to the district, he gets bitten by like a bat and gets rabies and is basically slowly dying. So she's kind of getting someone who's basically halfway out death's door when the Hunger Games even starts.
Also, they had like a day to prepare. They got there as like a day to plan, and then you're in. And I guess, and like we said, that's just like the Capitol, not having a very interesting Hunger Games, but yeah, it wasn't interesting, at least in my opinion.
But the districts, they got some weapons on them because they were able to bomb the Capitol in that pretty impressive way. So I guess like the war is still very much going on, but you get the vibe in the Hunger and like the original trilogy Hunger Games, you get the vibe that like when they create that uprising because of Katniss, it's like the first time in a long time. So it feels like after this Hunger Games from this prequel, it seems like they kind of snuff out the rebellions for a while and start to take control over them. But they bombed the building, the Coliseum that it was going to be in, which, like you said, it kind of makes it more an open concept, which makes it a little less interesting. But I was wondering what they're going to do for the Hunger Games that didn't happen, because I was like, this is a super small arena. Like, this is going to be over quick. But I think that's kind of the vibe. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe it sounded like from all the previous Hunger Games, too. Because I think at one point they said, like, this is already like the longest a Hunger Games has ever gone. So it's like, it's kind of, it makes sense. There's no viewership. It's like you tune in for like it's like a UFC event where like a knockout in the first round. It's like you build up this hype for so long. They're like, oh, it's already over. Like, I was waiting all year for this. But a little more hype for UFC is a little different. But yeah, so Rachel Zegler wins the Hunger Games.
That is very true, Tyler. That's a good analogy. I like it.
Yeah. It's just because, the OG Hunger Games is just they put like 12 people in a room that's like not that big, and they're like, all right, fight. And then it's like just over in like 10 minutes. So she wins because basically I'm trying to think
reasons. So,
what causes them to bring the snakes in. Was it because no one was fighting?
It's because it was taking so long and no one was dying. And remember, someone who died where Gaul made it so no one would win the Hunger Games. That was her plan, is no one wins this year. So she was
like
just
the son of the son of like the president or whatever.
It's okay. So the son of the president dies. Gaul, played by Viola Davis, the games master in this movie. she has a vat of snakes that won't kill you if they know you're scent, but they'll kill you if you're a new scent or whatever. So that's established earlier in the movie. They bring this big ass tank, kills everyone, but Snow's character, Tom Blythe's character Snow, he puts in like a handkerchief that rubbed on Lucy Gray's tears, and then he also like cuts himself, or got cut earlier in the movie, and uses blood, puts that in the tank, so then they don't get killed by the snakes.
Awesome scene when Viola Davis, because basically Tom Blythe was the one who came up. Coriolanus Snow was the guy who came up with the idea of like making the Hunger Games more interesting. And then a student in his class is just like, oh, he's my partner on everything. Like I deserve the same amount of credit too. Viola Davis, just like a savage, is like, oh, you did. Like, so the notes you wrote that like with this grand plan, I dropped in this vat of snakes. But if you actually wrote this paper, they would know you're sent and you'd be fine. So just reach in. Like you wrote the paper, like you should be fine if you just reach in here. Reaches in there, obviously gets bit, and then she gets dragged off, and then Coriolanus Snow's like, is she gonna die? And then Viola Davis is like, we'll find out.
Yeah,
like,
which you don't. She definitely did die.
Yeah, definitely. Like just a savage moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I can't. I think again, like I wish I remember. Like I think
So
I'm because of that, didn't remember. Why did she? How did the son die though? Wasn't it like during
someone just killed him, I think.
Like during a rebellion or something. Like he got like beat up, but then he was like on a deathbed, and like they were trying to revive him, but then he ultimately died. And then she got pissed, and she's like, "No one's winning the Hunger Games. Fuck you guys." Yeah. So then that's why she brings in the snakes, is because basically she's like, "We're killing everyone here." But at this point, there's only probably like 4
It's like
people
so
left.
It's Lucy Gray, it's the girl with the pitchfork, it's the little kid. Girl, and then
the guy who picked up all the bodies.
Yeah, the guy who picked up all the bodies. But so then that is like cheating, right? So Snow. So then he gets sent to District 12, and that's what,
cheating
like,
because he put the scent of Lucy Gray,
and he also gave her a
poison.
makeup pad with poison in it, with rat poison. Yeah,
because Coriolanus Snow did a couple things to kind of rig the game so that Lucy Gray would win, which is a no. You're not allowed to cheat to help your victors win.
So then he gets sent to District 12 with
Sejanus as peacekeepers. They're kind of like punishment to do military service.
Yeah. And then there, does he kill Sejanus, or he uses like a Jabberjay to go? I forget.
Yeah. So the Mockingjays we know from the original trilogy, they like repeat conversations or something that they hear. So there's a moment where they're planning like a revolt basically against the capital and the districts, and Sejanus is kind of in on it. So then President Snow, or not president at the time, but Snow sneakily has a Mockingjay nearby to kind of hear everything of the grand plan. And then the Mockingjay goes out and says exactly what he's saying. They're like, oh, this dude's trying to lead a revolt against us. So then he gets the famous Hanging Tree song.
Yeah.
Comes to light.
Not bangs, but like was a good song.
Yeah. The origins of it from that they all get hung, and that's the third body, the third kill Snow has, right? And then like that's so funny.
Yeah, he kills a good amount of people in this.
Well, I think it's 3, but like Lucy Gray Baird only knows he kills 2. So then he's like, "Oh man, I've killed 3 people. It's really weighing on me." She's like, 3? Who's the third? Like you only told me 2. And then his cop out is like, the old me. I killed the old me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna tell her I killed my like best friend or whatever. Or technically he like didn't like kill him, but he was like responsible for his death and was like the reason who sent him to the hanging tree. But at this point, Lucy Gray, she won, and basically we don't really know why, because again we're seeing through Snow's eyes, so any information that Snow wouldn't know, we don't know. So she wins, and then he gets sent off to detention to be in District 12. Well, actually he's going to District 4, but then he bribes someone to put him in District 12 so he can find her. But basically it sounds like she didn't get the winnings a normal victor would win, but they didn't also punish her because she didn't really cheat. I guess she was given stuff to cheat with. So they kind of just said, like, go back to District 12 and live your life. Yeah, go live your life. You're not getting the spoils of the victor, but we're not going to punish you or anything. So she just goes back to being a performing artist, and Snow links back up with her, and they kind of just decide to like leave this life and like live together like in a little romance. But of course, Snow is messed up in the head quite, and we start to see his kind of turn to darkness here, which I mean, I guess he's always kind of been a little messed up in the head. His father was not the greatest of guy, and he's kind of working to become someone like his father, like an imposing, serious figure who's kind of an icon in the Capitol for being this master of like punishing districts and genius and bad imposing figure. So yeah, then they kind of run off together, and
he gets bitten by a snake. She
figures out
away. She figures out he killed Sejanus or got him killed.
Mm-hmm.
He gets bitten by a snake, shoots her. It's like an ambiguous ending of what happens to her. But I'm pretty confident she just gets away, and then, I don't know, maybe she does.
Yeah,
but
because again, like we're seeing it through. Yeah, we're seeing it through Snow's eyes, so we don't know if she survived or not. But basically, she finds out in the cabin that they're in a cabin together, kind of in a secluded area, and she kind of realizes that he's like not a good dude. He's mentally unstable, and he's gonna continue doing bad shit. So then she runs away from him, and then he kind of tries to hunt her down with the gun and try and kill her. Very dark scene, very like school shooter vibes, like the way they shot it, the way everything about that. I was like, that's what I was really like, because I mean, like, there's a lot of like deaths out of nowhere and a lot of people getting shot and killed out of nowhere that I was like, this is like intense for a kid. But I feel like that I was like, this is like really intense for a kid to see, like the very school shooter vibe. Him going through the woods trying to find her, like screaming her name like psychotically, and again with the Mockingjay, like you hear her screaming in the woods, but also like it could be a Mockingjay screaming, she could be far away.
Yeah, very
ambiguous. If she got away, did she drown, did she get shot and killed? Like we don't know. But all we do know is that Snow doesn't end up finding her dead or alive, goes back to the Capitol, and kind of does his final revenge on Peter Dinklage's character. And we kind of see at the very end him looking up at the big statue, and it's kind of the beginning of President Snow's reign right there. He's kind of the guy now, the main guy in the Capitol. They all really favor him because he brought views back to the Hunger Games. He has a lot of sadistic plans for keeping the districts in check. He killed Peter Dinklage's character, who kind of stole credit for the initial creation of the Hunger Games from Snow's father.
Wait. I thought Peter Dinklage came up with it and then his father stole it. Like it was like a drunken night, and he's like, what if we just like all put, maybe I have this backwards. I thought then his father,
it was one or the other.
And then just because
you're right,
good friends, or he came up with it, his father stole it, created it, and they were such good partners that he went along with it. And then when Tom Blythe's father died, Peter Dinklage was like the default creator of it or something.
Yeah, you're totally right. Because Peter Dinklage was a drunk, and he kind of just one night came up with the idea, and then the Snow's dad was kind of like, write this down, and made it an actual thing. But it sounded like after Snow died, the Snow family was completely poor. So I don't know if like then Peter Dinklage revealed that like Snow actually didn't come up with it, so they took all their money, or what happened, because the Snow family just broke at this point.
Yeah, I forget. I think Peter Dinklage hate his dad because he actually used this idea. He never wanted it to be used like in that way. I think it was like that. That's why he hates them, so he doesn't give them any money or anything like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've just seen like 5 movies in the movie theater since seeing the Hunger Games, so I wish I like remembered it better, but tried my best to kind of recap everything that happened. So at this point, Snow's a complete madman, and at this point there's no more books. So like, and Suzanne Collins kind of sat on the red carpet. Like, it doesn't really sound like she's planning on writing more, but I feel like they're gonna I know personally I'm really interested to hear like, how is Lucy Gray Baird still alive? Like, part of me thinks maybe like she was like still alive during the District 12 uprisings and like the original trilogy, The Hunger Games, because like the Hanging Tree song is still iconic, and I could totally see her being like a behind the scenes mastermind trying to put together rebellions. Snow, like again, we talked about at the beginning of this review, I would love to see any Hunger Games content in terms of just the games themselves. Super interesting stuff. Like we have people like Haymitch, Madge, I think is her name, from Catching Fire. Like all these people who are previous winners, like it'd be cool to see their Hunger Games. But yeah, I don't know. As a fan of it, like I am a fan of the Hunger Games, but I don't know. There's a lot of people that are out there that are way bigger fans than me, so I'm not like a super fan or anything. But I was really satisfied with this. I think the third act, I didn't think it was bad. I just felt like it was a little out of place. And this is already a 2-hour, 40-minute movie, but it either could have been longer or split it up into 2 movies, because there's just like a lot they had to cover through Snow's entire reign, from going from like a high schooler to being like a sadistic wannabe ruler. But production design, cinematography, all that was great. Iconic final line of the movie, which was also the final line of the book, is just Snow always lands on top. that's just a hard bar to drop.
Yeah, the whole time they were like, so he says that earlier in the movie or something along that lines. The whole movie they were dropping some like, it's time to see snowfall or something like that. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude. I think Peter Dinklage says that. I was like,
yeah, it's like time for snow to fall. And he's like, snow always lands on top. I was like, that
what a
hard bar to end the movie at.
Yeah, I wish my last name were something cool like that.
I know.
Like Snow or something. I could say those lines, but
Walsh the pain away. I don't know.
There you go. Nice.
Something like that.
Crushed
it. Yeah, but nothing really super negative about this movie. Like I think it was just like a good movie. Like I'd be surprised if someone sees it. Like there is a lot of song moments in this, so I guess people like hate musicals. Like it's not a musical, but I can see people not liking it because of that. And then also I think a lot of weird people about Rachel Zegler will not like it because she's kind of like the second main character in this. So if you don't like Rachel Zegler, you're probably not going to like this movie. But also like as much as I do really like her, she isn't like a Jennifer Lawrence, but I don't think really anyone is. So it's kind of unfair. It's hard to live up to that. It's hard to try and be like a new Jennifer Lawrence District 12 member creating an uprising. Like it's just not, it's gonna be hard to replace. Whereas like someone like Josh Hutcherson as PETA, very easy to replace that kind of performance.
That's fair.
But yeah, really liked it. I'm excited to watch it again. Like when it comes out on streaming, inevitably, I'm sure this will be a hot ticket for streaming services to compete over for when it initially releases to get this one. So I'm excited to rewatch it and see kind of how my opinion changes on it. But I know when I walked out of it, I know Sophie was watching it at the same exact time as me. So I was like super amped to see what she thought. She liked it a lot too. So I was fired up by this one. I was very excited leaving the theater. Yeah, I couldn't tell what the vibe was in my theater, honestly, if other people loved it as much. But I was in a 3.8 on Letterboxd.
I was in a theater with 2 other people, so I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah, you saw it like early on a Saturday though, didn't you?
Sunday. Wait, yeah, Saturday. So yesterday. Oh yeah, my viewing was subcaptioned with
that's probably why there's no one there. I forgot. Tell that story.
Well, it was just it was a time that worked out for Emma and I. So 3:30 was the best time she was with her grandparents with Bailey, and so they could watch him a little bit. So I went to the movie, and it was subtitled with Spanish subtitles, and I got a little learned a little bit. Can't remember anything, but I took Spanish for a while there, so I understood some of it. But yeah, learned a little.
Was there translations for like Katniss or Mockingjay, or were they just Katniss and Mockingjay?
No, it was all just names.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess that's it for the review. Tom Blaze still though is like one of my favorite performances of the year. I thought he was just so good.
He was great.
Like
he was great.
Not just being like super dark, but just like even when he wasn't dark, just super good, super great performance. Yeah, I'm excited to see him in more stuff. He hasn't really been in much, so I'm sure he will be after this because obviously a big franchise film. So that's it for the review on The Hunger Games. I wish I was a little more coherent during that, but it's early in the morning. We're getting through it.